it's me again. I'm going to continue reading from my book, Secret Lives of the First Ladies. Let's go! Betty on the Cox. Mamie's years in Panama were hellish, but on at least one occasion she eased the pain of confronting insects and reptiles by betting on foul. Cockfights were a diversion, and not only because she usually collected on her bed. The spectators who accompanied her were so fascinating I couldn't pay much attention to the cocks. Did she mean foul or something else? Eric, Mamie Icehammer began to drink a bit more than she used to during the Second World War while her husband was away, and who could blame her? Ike was across the ocean in harm's way, and that's what a lot of army wives did while their husbands fought overseas. Unfortunately, Mamie wasn't just any army wife, and rumors began circulating about Mamie's alcoholism. She eventually got things under control, however, and began limiting herself to one a day. But the rumors persisted, fueled by those who had seen Mrs. Ike stagger at some party or other event. In fact, the weaving had nothing to do with liquor. He was on Meniere's syndrome. I think that's how you say it. An affliction of the inner ear that affects balance. Oh. Yikes. That's not good. I mean, she can't help it, but I mean, like, yikes. Okay. In the pink. At President Eisenhower's first inaugural ball, his wife sparkled. Literally. Woven into her dress were thousands of pink rhinestones, complemented by pink pearls encrusted with pink pearls. Yeah, I'll wear something like that because I love pink, but I'm always wearing all black because of my boyfriend, because he wears all black most of the time. So I wear all black too because he's kind of like a gonzo or an emo. I don't know what he considers himself, but yeah, something like that. So I do the same thing because I support him, but if I could, I wear all pink all the time with pink rhinestones on my dress and pink pearls on my purse. Pink, 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 pink. Cause I'm a really girly girl. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I am, but because of my boyfriend, I wear all black. I'm trying to wear more and more black all the time. Well, not always. Not when I go to his mom's place to watch their dogs. Cause Sage, the big pitty that you saw in a couple of my other videos. Yeah, we think that she's kind of blind, especially at night. So I have to wear like bright colors so that she can see me at night, when it gets like extremely dark. But yeah, she ran out to look with gloves and shoes that were, well, it was a sign of things to come. Mamie redid her White House bedroom in pink, from the wastebasket to the sheets and curtains, and woke up every morning with a pink bow in her hair. Ah! I think me and Mamie would get along fantabulously. Me and her as pink twins. Hey girl, you're pink. Yes, I'm pink too. But yeah, and if my husband or I ever become president, my bedroom would have all the flags of my nationalities, which is the American flag, the Mexican flag, and the Swedish flag, and the Irish flag. Because this is how it goes. I'm 50% American, 50% Mexican, 25.5% Swedish, and 5% Irish. Yeah. I love my nationality because they make up me. I am who I am because of my nationalities and because of the people who raised me and whatnot. But anyways, yeah, that's how I do my bedroom. And I wear a pink bow in my hair too all the time. Well, it makes you feel like a girl. Even Eisenhower's private house at the Augusta, Georgia golf course, called Mamie's Cabin, sported a pink interior. It wasn't long before the First Lady's favorite color became the official pigment of the 50s. Manufacturers began turning out household products in Mamie Pink, from linoleum flooring to plastic containers. Ooh. I want Mamie Pink. I want to see what that looks like. Is that bright as blindingly hot pink, or what is it? If you don't know what it is, comment down below with a picture of whatever, okay? Or comment down below describing what Mamie Pink is if you know. Because I don't know. I want to know. Because I love pink. I love all pinks. From hot pink to light pink and pink in between. Pink, 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 pink. Anyways, let's continue. Afternoon delight. Mamie Eisenhower was a big fan of I Love Lucy and even entertained the cast at the White House. A bold move, as Lucille Ball had recently been labeled a communist in Senator Joseph McCarthy's witch hunts. Yikes. But we found out later that Lucille Ball wasn't a communist. He was just going around saying shit. But her favorite television show was the daytime soap opera As the World Turns, and she never missed an episode. Those on the First Lady staff quickly learned not to schedule anything at all that might conflict with that. Yikes. Because don't forget, way back when, we couldn't record or even streaming. There was no streaming way back when. So, you had to schedule your whole life around your favorite shows. It was a nightmare, believe me. Because I lived through the late 90s, early 2000s. And mid 2000s. So, yeah. Streaming wasn't a thing until, like, the early 2010s. Close to 2020 or something like that. I don't know. My family and I were so late to the party of streaming that I don't know when streaming started. But anyways, yeah. Oh, maybe Isaiah was a smoker. Ironically, one of the very few causes she adopted as her own was the American Heart Association, for which she became an extremely successful fundraiser. Ah, nice! Chapter 31. Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy. Ew, one of my favorite presidents. Another one. July 28th, 1929 through May 19th, 1994. She died June, July, August. She died 4 months before I was even born. Yeah. My mom had just turned... My mom was born May 17th. Jacqueline died May 19th. That was 17th. That was 2 days after my mom's birthday when Jacqueline died. So my mom would have just turned 20, 21, something like that, I think. I need to get out my calculator on my phone, and I can't do that on my phone right now. So, anyways, let me see. So yeah, something like that, like 2021. And that was 4 months before I was even born. My mom would have been heavily pregnant with me. My mom would only be eating those Slim Quick or whatever protein drinks things. By that point in time. So yeah, you know a little more about me. Anyways, let's continue. Married September 12th, 1953. Presidential husband, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Or JFK. Children, Caroline Bouvier, John Fitzgerald Jr., and Patrick Bouvier. First date, 1961 to 1963. Astrological sign, Leo. Not a Virgo again. I think we're going to stop at Virgos now, but we'll see. Religion, Roman Catholic. So, but honestly, there are many men who are faithful to their wives. Men are such a combination of good and evil. Tell it like it is, sister. Tell it like it is. Just kidding. Whether you're a man or a woman, whatever, always be faithful to your spouse. Always, always, always. She just saying that because her husband, JFK, was not faithful at all. Yeah, he was known as a womanizer. And she, we don't know if she knew or not, she was like, she was like Alexander Hamilton's wife. She kept that private. We don't know how she reacted to her husband playing around. All I do really know is that he played around. A rumor is that JFK and RDK, his brother Robert Kennedy, both had relations with a woman named Marilyn Monroe, and that they had killed her because she was going to blab to the whole world that she was having relations with both the president and the president's brother, the Secretary of State, Robert Kennedy. But we don't know that for certain because she's dead, Robert Kennedy is dead, JFK is also dead. So we don't know. Anyways, let's continue. Jacqueline Kennedy had to confront her husband's infidelity on numerous occasions. Like the time she discovered another woman's underwear in their bed. Told you! Anyways, let's continue. In 1941, an 11-year-old Jacqueline Bouvier visited the White House as a member of a tourist group. It seemed rather bleak, she later recorded. There was nothing in the way of a booklet to take away, nothing to teach one more about that great house and the president who had lived there. Little did she know that one day she would correct that situation. As one of the most beautiful first ladies in American history. I think that's how you say that word. I don't know. Jackie's childhood was at once privileged and troubled. Her mother, Janet Lee Bouvier, was a beautiful New York society woman who tried for as long as possible to deal with the alcoholism and philandering of her husband, a bigoted and irresponsible stockbroker named John Bouvier. No wonder Jacqueline was okay with her husband fooling around, because she was used to it. I mean, that doesn't make it right or anything. It just means that she was used to it. She should have stood up, but she was used to it and she didn't know any better. Even though she should have known better by the time she was adult, but anyways, it's her life. She severed the relationship in 1976 and 6 years later married Hugh Claus. I think that's how you say his last name. Who was wealthier and more stable than John Bouvier. Jacqueline and her younger sister Lee did their utmost to play father against stepfather in an emotionally charged family chess match in which they, as daughters, reaped all the benefits. Jacqueline went to finest private schools in New York and Connecticut, enjoyed weekends in the Hamptons, and became an extraordinary Esquerian. Jacqueline was intense and somewhat aloof, but beneath the shell that she showed the world worked an indefatigable mind. She was an artist and literature right from the get-go. An insatiably curious girl who loved to draw, read the classics, and write poetry. She entered Vassar in 1947, studied at the Sorbonne in Paris during her junior year, and graduated in 1951 from George Washington University, when Vogue sponsored a Prix de Paris contest for aspiring young journalists. Jackie went after it with all she had, producing a series of spreads for the magazine that blew its editors away. The prize was an internship at the magazine's Paris office, but Jackie turned it down. Her parents convinced her that if she went to France, she'd never return. Her hard work in the contest ended up paying off anyway when, with the help of her stepfather, she became the inquiring camera girl for the Washington Times-Herald. Soon she was engaged to a New York stockbroker named John G.W. Husted, and going on dates with a Massachusetts congressman named John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Though somewhat apolitical, Jackie was drawn to the handsome and engaged JFK, who loved to read as much as she did, and whose wealthy family offered the sort of tantalizing security that she had learned to appreciate from her childhood. Kennedy was utterly taken by this beautiful intellectual who could translate French texts for him and look stunning at political dinners. Jack, as he was usually called, became a senator in 1953, and the couple announced their engagement that summer. The huge and very rich wedding in Newport, Rhode Island, was a fitting encapsulation of Jackie's past and future. A gala society affair, chock-a-block with the nation's elite, it dramatically demonstrated the power and influence that a Kennedy Bouvier such auction cause match could mean, but old ones reopened when Jackie's father ended up getting too drunk to walk her down the aisle, requiring her stepfather, Uncle Hugh, to do it for him. And the bride was intimidated and exhausted by the throngs of ogling guests, giving her a very real lesson in the struggles for privacy that would come to define her life. Jackie said about making herself into the thing she now wanted more than anything to become. An ideal senator's wife, a distraction for Jack from his demanding responsibility. She became an expert in all the required fields: wine, entertaining, golf, bridge. She threw classy parties, delighted Jack's colleagues with her incomparable wit and learning, and even overcame her political ambivalence by following the debates that consumed her husband in the Senate. When he underwent serious spinal surgery, she buoyed his spirits with frequent visits to the hospital. When he decided to write profiles in courage, she did much of the research for him. I started to read that book. That book is okay. I wouldn't read it myself per se. It's long and kind of boring in my opinion, but if you like something like that, go ahead, read it. But I want to finish it because I like to finish things. I don't like to end things in the middle. I like to finish them sometimes if I ever can. But yeah, anyways, blah blah. Let's continue. And when he lost a bid in 1956 for vice president, she wept for him. It all took a lot out of her. By the time she gave birth to Caroline in 1957, she had already suffered a miscarriage and a stillbirth. But she was becoming a major asset to her husband's career. During Jack's 1958 re-election campaign for the Senate, Jackie spoke to Latino Americans in their own tongue and proved herself a savvy and tireless promoter. She still retaining residual boredom with politics and politicians, but you couldn't have known it to see her in action. It was more the same during JFK's presidential run in 1960. Interviews, public messages in foreign languages, personal appearances with her husband, and more. She had to turn it down a notch after getting pregnant, but continued to reach out to voters through Campaign Wife, a column in which she would write about the life on the campaign trail. Jack beat Richard Nixon by the slimmest of margins, but ended up beginning his administration with a bang anyway. Less than 3 weeks after winning the election, his wife gave birth to a son they named John Kennedy Jr. The event served to emphasize the young and exuberance of the new presidential couple, convincing many Americans that a new age had been born in the hospital room, right along with John Jr. In many ways, perhaps they were, but this gorgeous and lively First Lady, the first to be born in the 20th century, would begin her term in anything but a spirit of youthful vigor. Still recovering from the birth, it had been a cesarean. Jackie became so exhausted during the inaugural festivities that her husband had to attend many of the events that night alone. Damn. She had also been given the traditional tour of the White House by outgoing First Lady Mamie Eisenhower, throughout which Jackie winced in pain. And not only because of her surgical scars. Mamie Pink was just one of many dubious decor choices that assaulted Miss Kennedy's eyes that day. To her, this majestic and storied building, the natural treasure that had been home to Abigail Adams and Abraham Lincoln, had become an offensively dry reservoir of gaucheries. I think that's how you say. Fixing it became her obsession, an ambitious project ideally suited in her sense of taste and appreciation for history. She scoured the master's property in search of forgotten antiques, successfully lobbied her husband in Congress to grant museum status to the building and provide a full-time curator and hunted down collectors across the country who had historical treasures to donate. She even oversaw the creation of a guidebook to the master, which is updated regularly and used to this day. And in 1962 gave a televised tour of the restored White House that seemingly everyone in the country watched. It was just the beginning. Jackie made similar efforts on behalf of the decaying buildings around Lafayette Square, intervening to spare them from destruction and actively championing their restoration. The result was a rejuvenated neighborhood, much of which was funded by donations from ordinary Americans who were inspired by the First Lady's extraordinary work and devotion. Kind of like what I would do, because I like history. My house, if I ever moved out, would be basically a museum with like PS1s, PS2s, with one PS1, one PS2, one PS3, the Xbox One, GameCube, and the first Nintendo. I forgot what it was. But anyways, yeah, the very first Nintendo, a rotary phone that Jackie would have used, a button-down phone that I would have used, of course, cell phones, even though my boyfriend would not want that. It's my house. I'm going to be paying for a majority of it, so whatever I want in that house, it's going to be mine. And that's what I want. Oh, shit. Well, I like collecting old shit. I want to. I like it. It's fun. But anyways, yeah. Jackie's historical preservation projects were merely part of her program to make the White House into a center of culture as well as government. She was fiercely independent and often infuriated her husband by not taking some of her traditional First Lady responsibilities seriously. She once blew off a lunch in her honor given by congressional wives, requiring Jackie to go in her stead. But the White House had never had such a sophisticated guest list. Artists, musicians, dancers, writers, poets, all made merry presidential events that often ended with a concert or dramatic performance. Jackie directed the design and construction of Washington's first cultural center, later named the Kennedy Center. Arranged for many of the country's foreign students to visit the White House to cultivate international understanding, and got friends to lend the Mona Lisa for a while to give Americans a close look at her. Nice. I want to go to France to see the Mona Lisa and to just do everything in France. Without the old historical sites and whatnot. I mean, like it's free. Anyways, let's continue. She was beautiful, dedicated, elegant, and glamorous, and Americans became fascinated by Jackie. The rest of the world went fairly berserk over her. In Venezuela, communist protesters held up a sign reading, "Kennedy, no. Jacqueline, yes." In France, the president introduced himself as the man who accompanied Jacqueline Kennedy to Paris. Nice. When a doctor who bouffant hairdo and bought cheap copies of her hats, she charmed the pants off of Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev and became the first incumbent First Lady to have an audience with the Pope. Even the communist bloc ate her up. Of the 100 or so countries that aired her televised tour of the White House, several were behind the Iron Curtain. Nice. And then came 1963. In August, Jackie gave birth to a son named Patrick, who died within 2 days. The national outpouring of sympathy had barely subsided when, on November 22nd, in Dallas, the First Lady had to endure the horror of witnessing her husband's assassination. In an instant, the Kennedy dream was over. Damn. Yeah, he died. He died. There's a lot of theories about why he died, but I'm gonna go with the reason why he died was because his vice president didn't want to be vice president anymore. He wanted to actually become president. LBJ wanted to become president. He hated being in the shadow of JFK. Yeah, he hated it to his fucking bone. He never once wanted to become vice president. He wanted to become president, so he shot the president to become president. That's my theory, and I'm gonna go with it. Jackie Fever, however, wasn't. And she knew. After using her organizational skills to arrange for a dramatic funeral worthy of the nation's grief, she became dedicated to the well-being of her two fatherless children. Children who had already experienced more national attention and tragedy than anyone should have to. She hoped to find peace and at least a measure of privacy in New York City. But her efforts to shape her late husband's mystic reputation brought her unwanted attention when she authorized a book by William Manchester entitled The Death of the President. Disagreement over some of the book's less flattering passages led to a lawsuit that was eventually solved by some editorial changes, but it was a sign of things come. Try as she might, Jackie would never be able to control the public's impression of JFK or her relationship with him, both of which were coming under increasing scrutiny as the years passed. It was the sort of thing that drove her further into the international circles she already knew, seeking escape and foreigners who weren't so close to America's ongoing Kennedy tragedy. Bobby Kennedy's assassination in 1968 was the last straw. I hate this country, I despise America, and I don't want my children to live here anymore. All of which goes a long way toward explaining her straight decision to marry Greek shipping magnate Aristotle Onassis. 20 years her senior, Ari offered tremendous wealth and intelligent companionship, but all the rest of the world saw was a shady Mediterranean gangster who dragged their beloved princess down into a world that hardly suited her. Jackie was willingly dragged, and the world mourned her base merchant. In 1975, Ari died, leaving his widow and daughter to fight out over his millions. Jackie walked away with enough to put her in the black for the rest of her life. Rich and twice widowed, Jackie returned to New York City, where she utilized her smarts and connections to become a book editor. Her ongoing patronage of the arts and devotion to career and family made her an icon of the women's movement during the 1970s. But an insatiable public still hounded her. One magazine even printed a map of where tourists could spot her making her daily rounds, and the protection of privacy remained a priority. At times, she began a romance with influential Diane merchant Maurice Templeman. It would prove to be her last. By 1994, she had contracted non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which no amount of treatment seemed capable of stopping. Jackie checked herself out of the hospital and died, in private, on her own terms, in May of that year. To many Americans, it felt as if they lost a queen. Yeah, because during that presidency, it was known as the Camelot, because they kind of viewed Jackie and JFK as kind of like King, what's his name, and his queen. I should know this. I think it's King Arnold or King Harold or something. I forgot. Comment down below if you remember who the king and queen were in the round table. Because I totally forgot now. I should know this because of Once Upon a Time, but... Oh. Because I just watched Jared, because like a week or so ago, I watched Jared's reaction to Once Upon a Time, and it was around the, King Arthur and his wife, Gwendolyn. I knew I remember. But anyways, yeah. Jacqueline was seen as Queen Guinevere, and J.K. was seen as King Arthur. Okay, so anyways, that's it for now. Please comment, rate, and subscribe down below. And if you're on YouTube, please ring that bell notification so that you can know when I upload. And if you're on TikTok, please like and follow my videos. And please pay for something on either my eBay and or Mercari. Okay, bye. Oh, and once I get to 50 subscribers on YouTube and 50 followers on TikTok, I'll do something special. I'm not gonna tell you yet. Okay, but so yeah, let's reach 50 subscribers on YouTube and 50 followers on TikTok. Okay, bye.